Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. Today we're going to be having a book review, and it's on a big book. This monstrous book on Bob Dylan called Mixing Up the Medicine. I just finished it about a day or two ago, and we're going to be reviewing it and going through it and show it to you. But let's work our way up to it a little bit, okay? This is a huge, over 600-page book. Some of my favorite books on my favorite artists is not just reading the stories over and over again, but actually experience it. And sometimes it's really big collectors of the artists where they put out books on their collections. Like I remember going back long decades ago, this book from Jeffrey Giuliani on the Rolling Stones album, it was called, and this was pretty much, the history of the Stones up to that point. But it showed a really big fans collection, all different albums and singles and autographs and programs and tour dates and things like that. And in its time, this was a really impressive book, as you can see. So this kind of book, at least for me, goes through all the tours and memorabilia from the tours. This was a really fun way to read about the Stones because you get to see it and experience it. It becomes a reference book and the kind of book that I will keep. That was certainly surpassed by this book that came out about a year or two ago by Matt Lee. I imagine he is the world's largest Rolling Stones collector. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records. And this book probably could have been 200 times bigger because this is just a tiny bit of his massive collection. But even so, it's extraordinary. So this also was a fantastic read. And I think a lot of the stuff that was in the Stones Exhibitionism traveling tour, which we're going to talk about, came from Matt's collection. In fact, I believe he has like his own private museum that he kind of opened up when the Stones were playing locally. I think he's in the UK. So, which is really cool of him. His collection is just beyond belief. So this was just a fantastic way to experience the Stones' history by looking at it. This beyond belief collection of Matt Lee. So that's one way of doing it. Then the really big acts, like I think Bowie was the first one, did a traveling road show, and David Bowie did a thing called the David Bowie Is Tour, and that played around the world, and I went to see it in Brooklyn when it hit the Brooklyn, and it was amazing because, an artist like Bowie was great to experience his career by actually going to the museum, not just looking at a book, but going to an actual museum that was just his history. But instead of just reading about it, which you did, you got to experience it. And you saw his clothes, and you saw his recordings, and videos, and different tours that he did, and his albums. And there was a section where you can go to listen to, rare tracks and remixes and things like that. It was a fabulous experience. We were there for hours and hours, and it was just great. And not every artist can pull that off, but certainly Bowie can do that because you could experience him. And then after that, the Stones did their worldwide traveling tour, and it was called Exhibitionism. And I went to see it not once but twice. I actually saw it in the UK, and then I saw it when it arrived in New York. And this was the book on that. And that was even... not that you need to compare them, but, that was even more exciting for me than the Bowie one. In fact, because the Stones staging, you got to see all the different stages that they did, and Voodoo Lounge and Steel Wheels and the 75 tour with the Lotus and, all Jagger's clothes as well, all those different outfits, and there's Charlie's outfit, and, so it was the clothes and the music, and you actually got to see, when you walked in, they remade the original apartments, that they lived in, when they were unknown, starving musicians. So it was just fabulous, the history of the Tongue and their graphics and their album covers and their tour posters. It was just great. Just absolutely fantastic. So that was Exhibitionism. But, not every artist is like that, where they could do a worldwide tour of their memorabilia and you go to see it because it's traveling around the world. What does all of this have to do with Bob Dylan? Well, Bob Dylan now has something that nobody else has, really, certainly on this level. Today, I got this hat in Tennessee because I went to Tennessee on vacation, loved it, and I got a hat. But this T today, we're going to say it stands for Tulsa, Oklahoma, because that is the home of the Bob Dylan archive. And that is, I haven't been there, but that's what this book is, over 100,000 items of Bob Dylan's whole history is housed in the Bob Dylan archive. Instead of it traveling, you're going to go there. And it looks so incredible that I'm actually thinking about making a trip at some point to Tulsa, Oklahoma, just to visit this place because it's incredible. You know, they have all his films and his music and everything, all his handwritten lyrics and notes are there at the Bob Dylan archive in the Bob Dylan Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Over 100,000 items are there. And you could actually do research. You could request, lyrics and things like that. And they actually will bring out the actual handwritten lyrics of that particular song. Pretty incredible stuff. But obviously not all of us is going to make it to Tulsa, Oklahoma. What do we do in the interim? Well, that's where this book came in. This is the official book of the Bob Dylan archive, the Bob Dylan Center. And this is a 600-plus page book. They have over 100,000 items. In this book, it has over 1,100 photographs, and the photographs are largely handwritten lyrics and archive-type stuff of the whole history of Bob Dylan. And if you read this book cover to cover, which I just did, you really get to experience the whole history of Bob Dylan, but looking at his stuff, which is housed in the archives. Pretty awesome. This is the book. It came out on Galloway. I'm not actually familiar with them. I can tell you that this book, when it came out, was listed at $100, way out of my league. I actually got it for my birthday present in February, but they got it for half price, $50, and now on Amazon it's even less. So if you hold out, you don't have to spend $100 on this thing. I'm going to try to show you this thing. Really funny. I read on I get a half-hour lunch every day, and I read my books down there, or music, or horror movies type stuff. And my colleagues, they're always like commenting, "What are you reading now?" But when they saw me carrying this thing is heavy. Like I could lift weights by using this book. They'd be like, "Wow, you're really going over the top now carrying this thing around," and it's true. But it's pretty fast read. I read it in like 2 weeks, And this is what it looks like. Now, you can kind of go through the whole history of Bob Dylan. It's over 600 pages, but I'm going to just show you. It is just beautifully done. There's different chapters, and there's all the albums. And throughout it, they have like these, guest people who write, about their feelings on Bob Dylan. It's about 30 of them, I believe it is. That was okay. Some of it is very florid kind of writing, and like highfalutin critics, sometimes they write and write and write, and at the end of it, I'm like, what the hell are they saying? Is it good or bad? So the only not a downside, but some of that stuff, I was like, yeah. But other than that, you go through his whole history, where he grew up, his parents, his hobbies, here he is as a kid, his high school yearbook pictures when he was a kid. When he starts playing, he went to see Buddy Holly. And you get into every single thing when he started playing in little clubs, and there's, his tapes, and there he is really early, and goes into 1961, and they have amazing pictures of him, literally at Cafe War and the bars in the city, and traveling and visiting Woody Guthrie, and, just amazing, performing with Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream, and memorabilia that people have that's signed by him, rarities, rare album versions, and again, there's some of the, asides that are in there. But my favorite part is just reading, and it goes album by album, highlights certain concerts, festivals. There he is, March on Washington, there's Carnegie Hall, and there's lots of handwritten lyrics, and concert programs, areas with Johnny Cash, and you literally just go through his whole career and, you know, all his typed written out lyrics, and really fascinating. You know, there's Mr. Tambourine Man, stories of him recording in the studio. You know, and I always got the feeling, you know, his videos, they talk about Eat the Document was never released and different edits of it. Later on, Ronaldo and Clara. You know, it goes into stuff that you know really well and stuff that you may not know so well. Tarantula, his book, and it is just magnificent. And all of this stuff is coming from the Bob Dylan archive in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So if we can't make it there, well, this is a good synopsis. At least 1,100 pictures out of 100,000 archives. But we all know at a museum they don't show everything anyway. So this is like everything, or a lot of everything that you're going to see there, I imagine. And it goes through their self-portrait and his artwork. And, you know, apparently he does like ironwork. It's in here. There's New Morning and Bangladesh. And I love the fact that it just goes in order. There's Eat the Document. And Billy the Kid, you know, when he made the movie, and then the soundtrack, and then 74 to 78. There he is with the band. Great picture. And really honest, you know, they have quotes from Dylan throughout here, you know, from his book, Chronicles, and other interviews that he did, you know, where he felt like when he was on tour with the band, he was kind of going through the motions. And then, you know, he did Blood on the Tracks, and then they did the tour, you know, the Rolling Thunder, and that was, here it is, Rolling Thunder, and a totally different kind of a thing. You know, really neat stuff. Great photos. And more than just the great photos, it's the actual stuff from the archives, the lyrics and the photography and the words from Dylan, and there's Ronaldo and Clara. And this thing goes, there's Street Legal, and then it goes into, you know, when he got Religion, and did Slow Train Coming, and Saved, and Shot of Love. And he's got a lot of love for Shot of Love. He says he thought it was amongst his best albums. I always really like that album as well. Here's Shot of Love, and he talks about the different tours and the different bands. Oh, that's thunder. We're about to have a big storm here. And Infidels, probably my go-to Dylan album. I've mentioned that in many of my videos. Empire Burlesque, another album I really like. Talk about Farm Aid. Funny, they kind of skimped on Live Aid. They mentioned Live Aid is where he made an aside about farm, you know, they should help the American farmers, and then they created Farm Aid. But they don't really talk much about the Live Aid performance, which he did with Ronnie Wood and Keith Richards. Not one of the highlights of his career, right? But it goes all the way up to the modern times, and, you know, talks about like he lost his way down in the groove and then came back a bit with Oh Mercy. Then a lot of people felt he lost his way with Under the Red Sky, but Dylan and this person wrote a huge article that they think Under the Red Sky is a really great album. I don't. Unplugged, then comes back with Time Out of Mind, and all these great, you know, recent albums that he did, you know, like Love and Theft and Modern Times, and you could see right there. So really covers every aspect of Dylan's career. And of course it gets into the bootleg series. There's the Chronicles book, the Scorsese film, No Direction Home, his radio program, Together Through Life, Tempest, his what they call the Never Ending Tour, which Dylan is not fond of that. He says each tour really has its own characteristic and different tour name, but then he did these cover albums, you know, Fallen Angels and things like that, and then you even get Rough and Rowdy Ways, and recent book and Shadow Kingdom. So this thing is really up to date, and 608 pages. Quite the book. So if you like these kind of books where you learn about an artist by really experiencing it and looking at their discography and their tour programs and their posters and their staging and their clothing, it's all in here for Bob Dylan. an amazing accomplishment, this book, which is basically the book of the Bob Dylan Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So there you have it. Highly, highly recommended. Like I kind of said, I would not spend $100 on a book, but I got it as a gift, and I know they got it for like half the price, and now it's even less. So really, really well worth it. I imagine the longer you wait, you'll probably start getting it, for even cheaper. But it is a fantastic, fantastic book. Bob Dylan, Mixing Up the Medicine. It even came with like this bookmark type thing. So there you have it. If you have it, let me know what you think. I give it a major, major thumbs up. And this is really a Bob Dylan video, but if you don't have the Stones Exhibitionism book, that's excellent. I think they redid it, called Unzipped now. This Bowie is great as well, and this is really old, but you can still find the Matt Lee book out there. Just incredible what he has, I think I'm a big Stones fan until I see something like that. I have like one thing in his whole collection, so it's incredible. Anyway, there you have it. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Big thumbs up for this book. If you're new to my channel, please hit subscribe. Help me out. Now, if you are interested, if you go to my playlist and you go to Artist Discographies Rankings, that's a playlist. There's a lot of videos in there. But there is a video in there called My Bob Dylan Album Collection, 78 albums. And I show you my collection of Bob Dylan albums because I'm a big Bob Dylan fan. That video is 3 years old. I got a lot more than 78 now. Yeah, I have pretty much all of his albums, but and some bootlegs and things like that. So nice collection, if I say so myself. So if you're interested, check out that video. It's a good one. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time on the Alan Rosenberg Show.